Hi, it's Martin and welcome to this online class where I'm going to show you how simple it is to move from a path of stress, work stress, where we're feeling overwhelmed by just how much there is to do. Everything's urgent, important, due yesterday. And all our strategy is to work harder and longer and try to get through it all and hope and wish and pray that it'll all work out. But we're not seeing our family like we want to, that quality time with our family. We're working all the time, we're thinking about work all the time, we're not feeling great about ourselves. That path. And I show you just how simple it is to move from that path to a path where you feel more calm, confident, in control, where you're doing a great job at work, but you are also able to see and spend quality time with your family and feel good about it in the process. And sometimes we can feel like it's chalk and cheese. It's so far out of reach, especially when we're in that stress state. You know, we're looking at somebody that calm or seems to be calm and confident and got it all together, and we think it's going to take time and energy and effort that you just don't have, mental capacity that you just don't have because you're just busy. And it must be a whole load of complicated stuff to get you to that calm and in control path. I'm going to demonstrate right here and now that it's very, very simple to get onto that path. And at that point, then we can start building momentum. So that's what this is going to be about. And I've not seen anybody kind of visualize it in this way and describe it in this way. So I'm quite excited because it just suddenly clicked for me and made perfect sense. And it was like, this is the starting point. And if we can make the starting point simple, then everything that follows, you're just going to want to learn that. You're going to want to keep on the path, but we've got to make it simple to begin with. So that's what we're going to do. And you may know, it's no surprise that I put together a support package. So once you're on this path, then you can learn about all those tools, those strategies, those frameworks that's going to keep you on that path and keep you calm and more in control of your time, your workload, spending quality time with your family, doing an even better job at work, all that kind of stuff. And the personal support, really important, the personal support to guide you and help you and keep you on track, to talk things through, to answer questions. When things come sideways, how do we deal with it? I'm going to be there for you one-on-one to support you. And plus I've got some really cool bonuses as well. And when you take that out, there's an exclusive invitation to an extreme confidence event that I'll be running. So super excited about that. But right now, I just want to add that value. I want to get you on the path, because you might be thinking, well, that all sounds great, Martin, but I am so stressed and overwhelmed. It's too much. So let's keep things simple. I've got my trusty whiteboard and, excuse the diagrams, but we're going to visualize this and it's going to click. It's going to click. And let's get started, shall we? Let's just get started. So the first thing we want to do is we want to look at this path of stress, okay? So it's always good doing live drawings, right? You never quite know how they're going to pan out. So there's your path of stress. So far, so good. So this is our stress. Always writing. By the time we get down here, it's probably going to be like doctor's handwriting, right? So stress, we're talking about that work stress, okay? And we're stressed because there's so much to do. And we're stressed because we know that we're not living the way we want to live. We haven't got that balance. And we've got all that overwhelm, right? We've got all that overwhelm. Why are we overwhelmed? Because there's so much to do, right? You've got a massive to-do list. And, let me just bring this to life. Because I spent, 20 years in the corporate world. In financial services, working my way up that corporate ladder. At its height, when we talk about overwhelm, about how much there is to do, at its height, I had what I thought was a to-do list. I had one of those, and I thought it was very, very organized. And it was in Excel, and it had 10 tabs, different tabs for different types of work, different projects. So far, so good, right? That's amazing. That's nice and organized. I mean, it became a full-time job just to keep on top of that. The issue was, 10 tabs, but I had over 80 items in each of those tabs. Not 8, over 80 action points in each of those tabs. I had a to-do list of over 800 items. So when I talk about overwhelm, when I talk about, that there's so much to do, I don't know how I'm going to get through it all. I'm coming from a place where I had documented and I had to document it because there was so much, I just couldn't keep up with it. I couldn't keep track. I was missing things. So I thought I would be organized if I put it in an Excel spreadsheet. But let me tell you, you and I both know, if I've got 800 things on my to-do list, I do not have a to-do list. That is a heart attack in a spreadsheet. And that is only slightly tongue-in-cheek, because that is the path to that kind of health issue. 800 items, over 800 items on my to-do list. Now, I am hoping, wishing and praying that you do not have an organized 800 things on your to-do list. But you might have 10, you might have 20, you might have 50, you might have 97. You might have them written down, you might not, in which case they're all going on in your head and you just can't keep track of them, and they're keeping you awake at night because you're just trying to remember it all, right? That's the point I got to, and that's why I wrote it down, and then I had 800 odd things to do. So this is overwhelm, right? When we got so much to do and we just don't feel like that, we don't know how the heck we're going to get through it all. And this is the other thing about this. We get frustrated, right? So there's a fair bit of frustration. Let's just do that. Frustration. Why are we frustrated? Well, when you've got so much to do, you could have an amazing day where you knock off 100 things off your list, right? That would be a heck of a day, right? You knock 100 things off your list. But at the end of the day, if you've still got 700 things on your list, you're not going to have the sense of achievement that you ought to have, because you've just knocked it out of the park. You've just done all these things. You've just taken action. You've moved forward. You've moved the business forward. But you don't feel like that because you've visually got all these other things that you know that are still needing to be done. So we can get really frustrated with that, and we get exhausted, right? Well, it's no wonder. Stress, overwhelm, frustration, that's going to exhaust you anyway. But what's our strategy for dealing with this? Our strategy for dealing with it is working harder and longer. So our main strategy when we're under this kind of pressure and we've got all this stuff to do, no matter how long that list is, whether it's in your head or written down, our main strategy is, well, I got to do it. I just got to work harder and longer. And that's why you then don't spend quality time with your family. And it's also why you're thinking about work all the time. So even when you're not working, you're then thinking about work, which this leads to, let's throw in, a little bit of guilt. We're feeling guilty now. We're feeling guilty that when we spend time with our family, we're still thinking, our mind is still racing about work. Or we're taking work home. We're doing it at the weekends. We're doing it on bank holidays. Heaven forbid, we're doing it on vacation. So a healthy bit of guilt as well, because our whole strategy around this is we've got to work harder and longer because we feel we're expected to do it. We're expected to get through our to-do list. It wouldn't be on our to-do list if we weren't capable of doing it, right? And this is both for people that are in the corporate world, like I was for those 20 years, but also for people that are business owners like I am now, right? If it's on the list, we kind of think that we've got to do it. It's there, and it's all on our shoulders. We've got to drive it forward, And within the corporate world, obviously, there's a lot of departments, and so we usually have a kind of a specialism, but there can still be a heck of a lot to do, as I discovered, right? 800 odd things on my to-do list. So, but the thing is, there's so much to do in the corporate world. But if you're then a business owner, I tell you, if you think your boss is like laying it on, you wait till you work for yourself. You're crazy, right? You're the craziest boss you're ever gonna have. But you've also got to be every department. You've got to be the finance department, the IT department, the customer services department, the sales department, the marketing department, the facilities department. You're everything now. And we're just trying to, and you can easily get into this cycle of just trying to work harder and longer, trying to get through everything, right? I'm going to put everything. We're trying to get through everything because it's on the list. Now, look, I don't want to. I mean, the good news is we can get off this path very simply. That's what I'm just about to demonstrate. The bad news, if you want to call it that, is that, you know, that to-do list of 800 things? I'm a business owner now. I've got more things than ever before. In fact, everybody's to-do list in life, in business, is never ending. And this is important because there's a light bulb moment at this point. It was for me, and it usually is for the dads that I'm working. They're trying to work harder and longer, trying to get through things as if there was a destination, as if there was an end point to the to-do list, but there's not. By the very nature of work, there's always more we can do. There's stuff we can review, there's stuff we can adapt, there's stuff we can refine, there's new things we can do. I mean, you know, in financial services, I come from that, you know, financial services background where I went from kind of like in a marketing assistant that seemed to do an awful lot of proofreading, right through over that 20 years, then becoming responsible for millions of clients and billions of pounds worth of investments, pensions and profits. And there was always more to do. There's always, I call them the 4 R's of financial services: rectifications, regulation, reviews, and restructures. There is always something going on. There's always something you can do. So by the very nature of it, it's never ending. That's how businesses grow and develop. That's how they last 100 years, because there's always more to do. And if you're in your own business, and again, the world's your oyster. You can do all manner of things to build and grow that business. So when we suddenly realize that what we're chasing, we're working harder and longer, trying to get to the end of a never-ending to-do list, there's something that just says in our back of our brains, you know what? That doesn't quite make sense. And this is really important because it's part of how we shift. It's part of how we shift by just starting to question what we're doing. But often when we're like busy, we haven't got the time, the space to question. We just got to keep going, and you know, that's stress. And I know that this is a spectrum. Okay, I know there's a big spectrum of this. There's that kind of low level stress where everything just feels a little bit edgy and a little bit rushed, and that's where I started my stress journey. And I don't wear this as a badge of honor in any way, shape or form. And I do not wish this on anybody. But I've then experienced all facets of stress, right up to that high level stress where it's almost disabling. But that then leads to things like low mood, depression, generalized anxiety disorder, insomnia, liver disease, burnout, and a lot worse. I experienced it all during those 20 years. And it's why I'm so passionate about helping you. It's why I'm here doing a free class for you before you even look at what's on offer. Because I in the most positive way, I am desperate to get you onto the path of feeling calm, confident, in control. Because I know where it leads if you don't. And here's another analogy in terms of this path. Stress is like a snowball, right? You know, what, Martin? Stress is like a snowball at the top of the mountain. It starts small. It starts with that low level stress where we're just a little bit edgy and a bit rushed. But the longer we leave, the further it rolls down that hill, the bigger it gets. One of my mentors, Tony Robbins, he's got one of my favorite quotes from him is, if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. And that's based off of a quote from Einstein that says, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Okay. Now, far be it from me to disagree with Tony or Einstein, because that tends to be true in most cases. However, in my experience of stress, if you do the same thing day in, day out, if you use the same strategy of working harder and longer because it's on the list, because you feel there's an expectation you've got to do it, and that expectation is you or somebody else, if you keep using the same harder and longer strategy, it's going to get worse. It ain't going to stay the same. You're not going to get the same result. It's like that snowball. It's just going to keep going and building and building. And that's where it then becomes, a higher level of stress, until a really high stress where anything and everything feels out of control. And then it leads to things like that depression and the generalized anxiety disorder and the insomnia and all of that, and burnout. It's like a snowball. It keeps going. The momentum is getting bigger and bigger. This is what happens with stress. The quicker we can deal with this, the quicker you recognize that, I'm just a bit edgy, everything feels a bit, it's not quite in control, and I've got this, but this balance isn't right. Instead of us doing this other thing, which is hoping, wishing, and praying that it's going to get better, instead of us working harder and longer and hoping, wishing, and praying that it's going to get better, what we want to do is we actually want to get out of this and onto a path where we can feel more in control, and we can feel more calm. We can feel more confident. This is stress. It snowballs. It gets bigger. And our only strategy is work harder and longer, hope and wish and pray that it's going to get better. And the thing is, let's say that I'm going to join them up here, because this is why it's so simple, okay? Simple to move. We're going to start the other path here, okay? Jeez. You get the idea. Actually, I'm going to, look at that. Oh, the door's open. Otherwise, you have to leap over a fence to get to the path. Here's the thing. Over here, this is, let's call it the calm path. But over here is what we said. We said, you feel more confident. You feel more in control, right? And we're talking about your time and your workload. Okay, that's a great place to be, right? And I tell you, every dad I've spoken to that's wanted to get out of work stress, every dad that I've helped, they've said this is what they want. And what they want to be able to do as part of this is do a great job. They still want to do a great job, and spend quality time with family. In fact, that is the number one thing. Spending quality time with their family is the number one thing that every dad I've ever spoken to about this, that's what they want. They still want to do all these other things, and they want to feel like it's not out of control in order for them to be able to do that and be present. There's nothing worse than spending time with your family, but your mind is still racing. You're not in the moment. You miss those experiences, let alone the fact that because you're working harder and longer, you're already missing out on things because you're just not around at all because you're working. Okay? So this path sounds great, right? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong in terms of what this feels like, wherever you are on that path. And correct me if I'm wrong if that doesn't sound very appealing, right? But again, from my experience, when I was in this space, that's what I wanted. But I didn't know how. And I thought that, this distance was massive. Because no matter where we are here, when we're just trying to work harder and longer and we're busy, we don't think we've got the time, the space, the energy to learn how on earth to do this. And when we see somebody doing these things, we compare apples and pears, because we're like wherever we are on our stress path, And then we're looking at this person over there and they go, oh, they always seem to be in control. They always seem to be so calm, and they're spending great time with their family, and they've got great health, and they're always so damn positive. It's like, get a little bit of resentment comes in. Do you want to put resentment on there as well? Let's stick it on there, right? Resentment. Because there's plenty of that goes on. But what we think is that, God, they must, there's so much that they must be doing that I'm not doing, that I wouldn't even know where to start. Now, why this is kind of apples and pears is because how long has it taken you to get to this point of stress? It's not going to be days, is it? Is it weeks, months, years? For me, it built up over 20 years. So however long it's been, let's say it was 2 years, well, this person over here might have spent 2 years getting to this point. Now, the caveat here is I'm not saying that it's going to take you 2 years, because this person might have tried to figure it out themselves, a bit like what I then tried to do. Okay, it's taken them time and effort to get there. But the switch they made was very simple. And then all they've done is they've just built it. It's just become a habit. This is how they are. They've got systems and processes and strategies and frameworks to be able to deal with anything that gets thrown in their way. That's how they can be so calm and controlled. It doesn't mean that there's no stress over here. Anyone, promising you that they can eliminate stress and, you can, not have any stress for the rest of your life. And there are people out there that are promising you that it's BS. Stress is a part of life. What's important though, the bit that makes the difference between this path and this path, it's having the processes, the systems, the strategies, the frameworks to be able to deal with it. And that it becomes just in your nature, so it doesn't become a strategy or a framework, because that sounds like, oh God, there's something else for me to learn, right? Well, I'm going to show you now. It's very simple to get across here, but when we're comparing ourselves, it's taken these guys years to get to where they are. It's taken you years. So you're not stuck. It's not where you start, right? We got to start here. But I tell you what, as soon as you switch path, you will automatically start feeling more calm, more confident, more in control. Because here's the big thing. Here's how you do it. It's like, Martin, cut to the chase. But it's kind of important that we really go through this, right? That we understand where this is. And let me just say, just before we go on to what the number one thing is that you can do, the simple thing you can do to switch over to the calm path. I understand that all of this stuff, all this stress, all this overwhelm, all this guilt, all this exhaustion, this frustration, I know how difficult that can be to admit. So, hats off to you, man to man, dad to dad. I have massive respect for you for being here, having clicked through, and you've lasted this long in this training. Massive respect, because it can take a lot to be honest with, not necessarily just other people, but ourselves about just how bad this has got and how we feel out of control, because we don't like to admit it. I'm not going to spend, not going to do gender, stereotypes or all that kind of stuff. But as a man, as a dad, it can be tricky to admit that we're stressed, to admit that we're overwhelmed, to admit we're frustrated, to admit we're exhausted, to admit that we don't have all the answers, that we've got so much going on, we don't know how we're going to get through it, but we're just going to just throw ourselves at it and hope it works, just to put more effort in. I know it can be difficult to admit that we might need a bit of support and we don't have all the answers. So thank you for being here. Well done for being here. Well done for acknowledging that, you know what, I need to do something about this for me and my family. And you may well enjoy the work that you do as well. So you want to do it for that. You want to be the best person at work. You want to make a big difference. Every dad I work with, they want to make a difference in the world. In the work they do, they make a difference. But they don't want to make a difference to such an extent that they can't spend quality time with their family and that their health suffers. So I know how difficult this is, so well done, okay? Well done for admitting it. Well done for being here. And every dad I speak to, they say they want this, but they go, man, that is so out of reach. Here's how we do it, okay? Here's how we do it. We have got, and the interesting thing about this is that this is something that some of my mentors tell me, do not lead with, Martin. You can't sell it. You can't sell that. They're not looking for this, Martin. They're looking for calm, confident, in control. They're looking for the lifestyle. That's fine. We know what that is. We've just covered that. We know that's where we want to get to. We're good. We know that. Now there's some work that we can do in terms of your personal life and what that would feel like and look like and what your daily routine would be and the lifestyle you live with your family, because it's different for everybody. But ultimately, this is kind of where we want to get to: calm, confident, in control. So that's where we want to get to. But what are we doing over here? The thing that people tell me not to lead with is mindset. People don't want mindset, Martin. Don't lead with mind. They need mindset. They need work on mindset, but it's not what they want. They want the tools. They want to know how do I sort my work out, Martin? How do I manage my work better? How do I cope with my stress better? Here's a little thing in terms of me and working with me. I do not want you managing your stress. I don't, in fact, want you managing your work, and I sure as heck don't want you coping with anything. I want you to be the leader of your work, the leader of your life. That has a very different feel to it, and there are different things that you do as a result of that, which gives you this kind of confidence and control. Okay, control in a good way, control over your time, because you're living life on your terms, not everybody else's. Very different here, because that feels well out of your reach. But here's the mindset. It's here. The mindset is, I've got a massive to-do list. Everything's urgent. Everything's important. Everything's due yesterday. And I've got to work harder and longer to get it done. And it's expected of me to get it done, because it wouldn't be on the list if it wasn't expected to get it done. And let's just throw a little bit of guilt in there because I'm not spending quality time with my family. Throw in a little bit other guilt as well, because we'll also go, well, but at the end of the day, yeah, I'm feeling like this, but I shouldn't really feel like this, because there are people worse off than me. There are people that don't have my salary. They don't have my position in an organization, or they don't own their own business, or they don't have that income, or they don't have my family. And what have I got to really complain about? There are other people that are far worse out there, and and it's getting worse out there economically, and why should I feel, and that's what fuels you working hard. So you like this, you feel guilty that you're then feeling like you are, but just because somebody else's situation is different, and maybe they're not in your position, and yes, you may have certain things in your life that are positive, that doesn't negate the fact that you feel a certain way, that you feel stressed and overwhelmed, frustrated and exhausted, that you're working all the hours under the sun and not seeing your family, not being the man, the dad that you want to be. Somebody else's situation does not negate that. And this is what keeps a lot of dads stuck, because they just go, well, somebody else go, and they just carry on. I want to tell you how simple it is, because all of that is a mindset, working harder, longer, trying to get through everything. That never-ending to-do list that makes no sense. Here's the thing. That's our view of the world. That's our view of work. That's our view of our role at work. May I offer you this, that your role is in fact not to get everything done on a never-ending to-do list, and that your only strategy is to work harder and longer trying to get through everything. May I offer that instead of us believing that, thinking that, having a mindset of that, we have a mindset of biggest difference. Making the biggest difference. What do I mean by this? If you're employed by an organization, is it true to say that you are employed to make the biggest difference for that company? They are investing in you, for you in that department, that division, that company, to make the biggest difference that you can to that company, to the profits, to the shareholders, to the clients, to your colleagues. Is that true? To make the biggest difference? You're employed to make the biggest difference. I mean, I'm not The reason this is simple is because I'm not asking you to believe something that's radically different. I'm not getting you to believe that the grass is blue. I'm getting you to switch from I've got to do everything, I've got to do everything, I've got to work hard and longer and try and get through everything and do everything and hope and wish and pray and get it all done, to I'm actually employed to make the biggest difference I possibly can. And if you're a business owner, again, is it true that you are there to make the biggest difference to your organization, to your company, to your team if you've got one, to your clients, to make the biggest difference in revenue so you can support and grow that business and support and grow with your family? It's true, right? There's no argument there, there's no debate there. You're there to make the biggest difference. But how much of a different feeling is that? That's a mindset. That's how you're looking at it. All of a sudden, to make the biggest difference, if working harder, longer, trying to get through everything on a never-ending to-do list, are we going to make the biggest difference if we do that? If we're trying to juggle and manage 800 different pieces, doing none of them particularly well or just well enough, are we going to make the biggest difference? If we're dealing with 100 different small things, trying to just get through that list, is it possible that there's something else on the list that could potentially make the biggest difference, that our time would be better spent doing that? You see, the biggest difference is where it is such a simple shift because you already believe it to be true. But when we suddenly say, right, okay, when I flip up the laptop, I say this with my stress dads in my program, flip up the laptop or you walk through the doors of the office, you just say to yourself, right, okay, I'm here to make the biggest difference. Now, in order for you to make the biggest difference, what does that naturally make you feel? It makes you feel a little bit more confident, right? I'm not there to work harder and longer and get you can literally just feel the weight on your shoulders when you feel that, when you think that, when you believe that. If you turn around and say, well, I'm here to make the biggest difference, yeah, the shoulders are back. You automatically feel more confident, more calm. You automatically feel a little bit more in control. But what are you going to do next? In order for you to make the difference, biggest difference, what are you going to do? You now need to discover the tools, the things that are going to make the biggest difference. When you've got 800 things in front of you, you've now got to dissect that and go, right, what's going to make the biggest difference? And this is the difference between a manager and a leader. A manager goes with those 800 pieces like a big jigsaw puzzle. It's just moving the jigsaw puzzle pieces around. And the funny thing about that analogy is very often some of the puzzle pieces are switched over so we can't even see the picture. Some of them have fallen on the floor and some of them aren't even our puzzle. Right? They shouldn't even be on our list. But the difference between the managers, they're managing all of this. A leader will look at it all and they'll know the questions to ask. They'll have the system in place to go, right, assess that right there. That's the thing that we need to focus on. That's the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. And in order to make the biggest difference, you obviously have to understand what your own objectives are, your department's objectives, your divisions, your companies, the project objectives. So you've got this holistic view and go, right, I'm here to make the biggest difference to that. What out of these 800 things or these 10 things or these 20 things or these 30 things can I do today that's going to make the biggest difference, going to make the biggest progress? You're naturally going to want to find to be more in control of your time and your workload by asking questions of what to ask, and to be able to put that into a system or a framework that you can then use, and you can use it every day. So every day I whittle 800 things down to 3 things a day, 3 of the most important things to do in that day. It's not the only things you're likely to do, but they're the biggest difference. And there's always a hierarchy. There's always going to be one that is going to make the biggest difference. You lead with that, you do that. Because if you then have done those 3 things, at the end of the day, you're going to get that sense of achievement. It doesn't matter that there's 800 odd things on the list. You know you've made the biggest difference. That is a massive shift. And all of it comes from just going, you know what? Instead of me thinking I got to do everything and I got to work harder and longer, I'm just going to shift like 1% and go, I'm going to start thinking that I'm here to make the biggest difference, which is absolutely true. And as just a natural result of that, my emotions are different, but also what I'm now going to do. I'm not going to try and get everything done. I need to figure out what's going to make the biggest difference. Now, that, ironically, is Module 2 of my signature program. Module 1 is where we get clear on what it is that you want, why it's so important, why is this path so important to you, and then looking at your mindset, shifting the beliefs. Now, biggest difference is just one shift. There are other things that we look at, but that is the number one big thing that you can do. Spoiler alert, right now, if you start thinking deliberately and intentionally every day about making the biggest difference, you will naturally start asking better questions and continue on this path. And that snowball is a positive snowball this time, because you're wanting to make the biggest difference. You're wanting to ask the questions. You're wanting to understand things better. And by doing that, your value goes up. Imagine being a leader. And a leader is not a hierarchical thing. A leader is how you look at things. A leader is being able to go, this is the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. This is where we need to focus our time. And going with that and doing that and knowing then how to focus your time to get that done. That's Module 3. Module 1 is all about mindset, to that shift. And I'm giving the biggest spoiler away right now because it's the most important thing you can do to get you on the path. Because here's the thing. Most people say, hey, Martin, like I said earlier, give me the tools. Tell me how I can manage all these 800 things. How do I know what to do first? And they're looking at it from a do first out of 800 things rather than the one thing that can make the biggest difference. They want the tools. But if you are stressed and overwhelmed, if your mindset, if the way you're looking at it is to work harder and longer, you are busy, 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 busy. I can come across here and give you the best tools in the world. And these are tools that I've figured out over 20 years. And then the last 6 years, when I've had my own business, I've been spending time with the most successful people on the planet. I figured my own stuff out. I'm like, right, this is what works. Then I said, right, most successful people on the planet, what are you doing? How do you go about it? Am I missing anything? And I gotta say, the fundamentals of what I discovered for myself were there. It just took me 20 years of pain, suffering, and trial and error to figure it out. I don't want that for you. But I then spent 6 years figuring out, oh, there's some, what the best people in the world were really good at. We're putting it into a system, putting it into a framework that you can just use, that simplifies how you do things. And once you've got those, it's like, that's how you then live. And it's not a boring, process-driven life. It's a way that you can deal with anything thrown in your way. Like, you've got a plan and then something comes left field. How many times has that happened? All of a sudden, you're going to assess it against what you've already got and go, right, okay, well, this is the aim, this is the objective, this is what I'm here for. And you can use this in the rest of your life, let alone just work. And you go, right, what's the thing that's going to make the biggest difference? This thing's come in, but, is this? And I got the questions to ask of that thing and the people around that thing to go, right, okay, I need to be able to assess that thing. My role isn't to just willingly say yes to everything. It's to take what's in front of me and then assess it and figure out whether it is the right thing that I need to do right now, or even if it is indeed me at all, or whether it's something that we delay and it goes into the hierarchy of things that are down the line, but maybe it's not for today, or maybe it is. But you've got to understand the system. You've got to have a system and a process. You've got to have the questions to ask. That's Module 2. That's what I work on. And then we go into Module 3. It's the time. Because once you've got that, you go, oh my goodness, I got this. And, I've distilled my list down to now I actually do have a to-do list, 3 things on my to-do list. And now I want to focus that time. And now I want to continue on this path. So what do I want to do? Day in, day out, I want to be able to feel in control. I want to feel that calm. I want to make sure that I'm putting my family first. I want to make sure that there are boundaries. So that's Module 4. That's Module 4, where we look at your entire day from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. And go, here are the different things, the top tips that I've learned from my own experience, 26 years, plus what I've gained from other people and what they're doing, and then put it into practice myself to see what works and what doesn't, and then give you all those top tips of how you can, keep energized, keep focused, Put the right things first for you. Set the boundaries so that you'll just snowball. Remember we said at the beginning, when you look at somebody who's calm, confident, they've probably taken time to get there, but they know this stuff. But what we want to do is we want to be able to know this stuff quickly. Instead of it taking you 26 years to figure out, go and spend time with somebody who's worked this out already and can, disseminate with that stuff, can share that stuff like I've done now in minutes, in hours, rather than it take you years. Because with those years, like that snowball going down, where the stress gets bigger and bigger, it impacts you, it impacts your work, it impacts your family, and it gets worse. Like I said, I've had that whole spectrum of stress. I don't want you to experience that. Trust me, things are ahead that you're thinking, no, that never happened to me. I felt that too. I just left it too late, too long. When actually they're just simple things. And it's one of the frustrations of the whole journey, really, is that a lot of what you can put into place are so simple. So simple. But if you're on this path right now and you're stressed and you're overwhelmed, getting all those, how to actually sort out your workload, how to sort your time, how to sort out your daily routine, those things are elusive because you've not got the mind, you haven't switched the mindset. You'll take some of those and you'll give them a quick try and go, I haven't got time for that. That's not going to work. I got to do that. You'll dismiss the very things that can help you, which is why we make this simple shift from this path and we go, right, you know what? I'm done with this whole philosophy of I just got to work harder and longer to somehow get through a never-ending to-do list. I'm going to start showing up as I'm here to make the biggest difference. Biggest difference at work, biggest difference with my relationship with my partner, with my children, biggest difference to my fitness, biggest difference to my finances. You can apply this to everything. When you start going, I'm here to make the biggest difference, it changes and shifts everything naturally, let alone the fact that then you can work with somebody like me that can then take you through all the different steps. And it's just a 4-step process I've got. It takes you through that mindset. It takes you through the workload. It takes you through the time. It takes you through your daily habits, your routine, and then shows you the compound effect of when you put these things into place. And the beautiful thing is you've just got to put a few things into place. You don't have to do everything. The compound effect of just one or two things grows like that snowball, but in a positive way. And all of a sudden you're cruising down this path of being calm, being confident, feeling in control. It's not as far away as you think, but we've got to make this shift. And out of everything I've learned, everything I've experienced in the last 26 years, this right here, the biggest difference, is the one thing that is the catalyst for everything else. And I'm wishing that for you. That's why I've done this class for you today, to show you that, to bring to life again, to say this is a very painful place to live. This stressful path, it affects you, it affects your family, it affects your health, even if we don't like to admit it. But this whole calm, confident, in control path, where you're doing a great job and you're spending quality time with your family and your health is feeling pretty good and you're feeling pretty good about what you're doing, it's so close. If we just start thinking we're around to make the biggest difference. Give it a go. Give it a try. Do it now. Think about that now with work. That's the main thing that we're focusing on, right? And see the different quality of emotions attached to that. See the quality of questions you're going to ask in order for you to make the biggest difference. Now, I know I'd say it's simple. I'm not saying it's easy. It's always a transition, but it is simple. And the more you think about this, the more you then just act on that, the better you're going to get. The more progress you're going to make on this calm, confident, in control path. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. It really is. It truly is the number one thing that I've discovered in 26 years that makes the shift quickly. And you'll notice there ain't no mindfulness, there's no meditation, there's no yoga, there's no breath work here. All those things are great, and if you want to do those, that's wonderful. And I've tried them all, and I incorporate some of those things still into my routine now, but they're not where you start when you're stressed and overwhelmed and you're working harder and longer. You don't have the time, the energy, or the mental capacity to do it. And even if you got some benefit, all it is a sticky plaster. It just gives you a short release. But then you come back to your workload, nothing's changed. You haven't got the strategies in place. You haven't got the mindset and then the tools on top of that to get you on the path to calm. Those other things aren't going to help. They're like a small release. But once you're on this path, those can really, really help you maintain that calm, maintain that focus and being in control. You know, I've had experiences here where, you know, when I've been in this place and I've been doing mindfulness and meditation, and it made me even more infuriated than I was before. It got me more stressed, more overwhelmed, because I just couldn't sit still. I couldn't sit still with my own thoughts because they were racing. I'm completely stressed out. I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. And when you don't know, when you have that level of uncertainty and stress, sitting with your own thoughts, it's not a pleasant place. It's not a pleasant experience. So what we've got to do is we just got to make a simple shift here, and those things become more possible. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be stressed and there's going to be a bit of friction to begin with, and that's okay, good, because we're challenging how you've been doing things for a little while now. But if you can just make a simple shift, and you can reap the benefits of that, that puts you on the path that you thought was a million miles away and never achievable and never attainable, then that's worth it. Biggest difference. Absolute privilege and a pleasure to deliver this for you today. I hope you've got massive value from it. And look, if you want to continue that journey, if you put this into place right now, you're on the path. It's as simple as that. You're on the path. If you want to really embed that to make sure you stay on the path, and then learn about the tools and the questions and what you can do day in, day out to be, you know, better with your workload, better with your time, better with your daily routine, better with how you're looking at work, looking at yourself at work, what your role is at work, and being able to do it even bit. Because if you're going to make the biggest difference, what does that do to your value in an organization, for example? If you're the person that's calm, confident, feeling more in control, who when everything is going, you know, to pot and there's chaos and there's so many things, and you're the one that's be able to ask the right questions, and you go, that's the thing that we're going to focus on. With that leadership, like, your value goes up in an organization. We need leaders. We don't need more managers. And you can use this is the framework. This is how you do it. And my signature program takes you through the 4 steps, you know, and we do it really manageable, because I understand this is our starting point and we're going to make this shift, but there's still going to be, I'm feeling a bit, it's okay. I break it up. I got videos, 3 videos on each of the sections: the mindset, the workload, the time, and the habits. 3 videos, manageable videos that go through what the kind of challenge is, bring it to life for you, do the training and the education of what to do, and then there's an exercise for you to actually put it into place. Not some fictional thing, but you put it into place in your life with your work, and then you get the benefit, and then you move on to the next one. And you can just do it really methodically. Whether you do it over 10 hours, 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, you'll just gradually get everything that you need, and you'll start feeling that calm, that confidence, and feeling in control. The signature program, it's all online, it's 24/7, so you can do it, you can access it when you want, however you want, you know, on mobile, on laptop, whatever you want to do, and it's there for you. Here's the kicker though, in terms of the package I put together especially for you. The program is amazing, okay? What I have discovered with any program, any course, and I have done my fair share, it takes an inordinate amount, a Herculean amount of discipline to get through it, to do the work, and to get the result. Now, if you've got that discipline, if you know, I have got absolute focus, this is so important to me, I'm going to do that, I'm going to methodically go through it, but I'm going to put it into practice at the same time, and I'm going to reap those benefits because this is important to me, the business, my family. If you've got that, then it's amazing, and you can do that in any course, any program. What I discovered, and this is for me, but this is most people as well, they need guidance. They need somebody there to help them, to support them, to encourage them, to be a sounding board, to ask questions of, to help with the guidance when they fall off track, because you will fall. We all fall off track. We all get distracted at times, or something comes in. It's like, we fall off the rails. The trouble is, if we don't have somebody there to help us that we're talking to on a regular basis, generally speaking, we stay off the rails. And that's when we then go back to here, to the stress path. We don't want that. We want to stay over here. Like I said, it doesn't mean that there's no stress or that things don't happen, but we've got the tools. But what I've discovered is, especially when we're learning this stuff to begin with, to have that person, that guidance, that somebody that, it comes left field. It's like, I don't know what, I've got these tools, and I was going okay, but now I don't know, how do I apply them to the situation? If you've got somebody you can talk that through, and importantly, talk it through with somebody that isn't in your situation, that has no vested interest in that business that you're in, or your colleagues, or anything else. It's like they're completely compassionate and empathetic to you. Their role is to help you, to support you, to get the best out of life. And they can come at it from a different perspective. Because you're very, like, can't see the wood for the trees, right? Because when we're like, oh, I got this and this and this, and it's like, okay, let me just like slowly dissect it, peel it apart, and go, okay, what are the most important things? What's going to make the biggest difference to this situation? How can we use the tools that we've learned? How can we use the questions that we've learned? How can we use the understanding of ourselves to deal with this situation? And then get us back where we feel like we're back in control. Having somebody to do that is invaluable. This is how I've got to where I've got to. I've done it with support. I've done it with guidance. I've got mentors. I've got coaches. And I regularly meet up with them. I call them on the phone. We have Zoom calls. We have, I meet up with some of them in person to make sure that I stay on track. And it's invaluable. So I wanted to make sure that you've got that. So you've got the signature program, but you've also got me. You're going to have 10 hours. You're going to have access to 10 hours of one-on-one coaching with me. And when I say about this guidance, it's so valuable to have that guidance, not from somebody who's read it, but from somebody who's been there, done it. And in this case, you're going to have access to the person that wrote the program, that spent 26 years figuring this stuff out with trial, error, and pain and suffering. And so anything that you're dealing with when it comes to that work stress, be it you're in the corporate world or you own your own business, I'm confident to say that I'll have something in my tool bag to help you. There's the stuff in the signature program, but sometimes it's like, right, okay, we need to dig this one out. And it's not that I've held anything back from the signature program. It's like there's just so much that we're going to do, otherwise you're going to be completely overwhelmed. So having that person there to guide you, to help you, to support you, that knows this, that has lived and breathed this, that knows how this felt, and knows how they made that transition, and sometimes they fall off the wagon, sometimes they fall off the tracks, and it's okay, you got back on, and what that felt like and what they did, totally priceless. So that's why I put together the signature program plus the one-on-one support from me to help you with that. And you can tap into that if you want. Like I said, if you want to do that over 10 weeks or 10 months, or every fortnight is a popular one for a lot of the dads that I work with, then it's fine. You can use that however you want, because right now it's like 10 hours. I don't have 10 hours. It's because we're in this state. We're just going to move across and go, actually, I'm here to make the biggest difference. What's the biggest difference I can make? Well, maybe it is to learn some new strategies rather than working harder and longer. And maybe something you can do with the biggest difference is actually to speak to somebody that's been there and done it and got results and is living in a different way now. Not necessarily because I'm a business owner and I used to be in corporate, but because I started applying some of this stuff in corporate, and that's why I know it works. Maybe that's going to make the biggest difference. So I've put these together. I've got some cool fun bonuses as well. You'll get the roadmap out of work stress, because that actually, just visually very quickly to begin with, shows you what those 4 steps are. You'll get access to the top tips, my 30 top tips, which are great because they're just 30-second videos. So when you've been through the program and this is like really clicking, and then you go, just need a reminder. So instead of having to go through the program and find the part in the program, it's like, I've got one page with 30 top tips, all labeled, and you go, it's that one. 30 seconds, you just get the reminder. So it's a really good companion to the signature program. Everything's included in there. And when you take this out, and you're also going to get an incredible invitation. I wanted to make this extra special for you. You're going to get an incredible invitation, exclusive invitation to an extreme confidence event that I'll be running. And this is where we go deep into then what your most extraordinary life looks like. So we work on this stress, and whatever you feel like your life would look like in this calm, confident, and in control, by the time you start feeling that and living that, your brain's going to be going, and this is an opportunity, and I'd like to do this, and there's the lifestyle. So we really tap into that to then help you live your most extraordinary life with extreme confidence. So we go into what that would look like, why that's so important, who can help. Sometimes that's me, sometimes it's other people. Then we look at, guess what, mindset. Just ringing a bell, right? It's the same framework. Once you nail this, you can use it in other ways. Then we look at what the stories are that are holding you back, from that extraordinary life. And we slay those dragons. And then what we do, we don't just slay the dragon, we replace them with a new empowering belief, just like we've done here, like making the biggest difference, but relevant to the thing that's holding you back. And then we do an extreme confidence activity, which would be breaking through wooden boards. And this represents that objective, the thing that's holding you back. So I'll get you to write on here, what's holding you back? What is it? What's the main thing? What's the main challenge? And you're going to smash through that. And when you do that, it's a whole body experience. It's so empowering. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be, you're going to pay a fraction of the price for the ticket, because it's going to be a £500 event. So what are we looking at for this? I wanted to make this accessible, and I wanted to make this affordable. Okay. So what this is the program in itself is $997. Okay. So it's £1,000 program, just the online programming. My coaching, that's an extra, for those 10 sessions, it's an extra £2,500. So this is a £3,500 package, plus you're then going to get that exclusive invite when you're in. But I don't want you paying that. I understand the financial situation. I know different people have got different finances, and what I've settled on in terms of a price point for this in no way devalues what this is. I'm sure we brought it to life in terms of how powerful this is. It's priceless. But I don't want for anybody the finance thing to get in the way. So what I've done is I've just said, hey, £99 for 10 months. Literally £99 for 10 months. And if you're savvy with the maths, you'll realize that's £990. So that's actually £7 less than the actual signature program costs, and it's one-off form. And you're getting me free, because that is the most valuable part, and that's the bit that I'm so passionate about helping you with. That's the thing that's going to make the difference. We're going to make this really, really simple. £99 for 10 months, and you get access to all the education you need in terms of the signature program, plus those bonuses, plus you're going to get me. And like I said, you can do that whether that's weekly, fortnightly, monthly, up to you. But you've got 10 hours with me to make sure that you really embed this, you really hit your stride on this calm, confident, in control path, and that you understand what those techniques and the strategies and the frameworks are, and your real life situations, we can talk those through and address those in the moment rather than waiting or trying to figure it out yourself. So for just £99 for 10 months, you're going to get it all. And I cannot wait for you to be a part of it. I can't wait for you to have that first conversation with me, and we'll talk it through. We're gonna get you making that biggest difference, and just see you move from this whole stressed dad situation where it's work that's causing that, but it's how we're looking at work that is really fueling it. So when we deal with that, all of a sudden you're going to be doing an even better job at work as a leader. You're going to be spending more quality time with your family. You're going to feel healthier and feel better about life as a result. Everything that all the dads I speak to want It's everything that I wanted. It's everything I've now got because I worked through the process. And I'm going to share what I learned in 26, took me 26 years. I'm going to share with you in a matter of hours. And I can't wait to get started. Click the button now. You can get involved. And then once you've done that, you'll see that exclusive invitation that I've got for you for Extreme Confidence. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've got massive value from this. I share it with my heart and with my passion, because I don't want you going through what I went through. And I'll speak to you soon. Thank you so much.